The stars outside the Imperial scout ship were quiet, cold, distant. The crew had been flying for weeks, mapping a forgotten corner of the galaxy. Nothing exciting had happened. It's just empty space, broken satellites, and dead rocks, until now. The lights on the command deck suddenly flickered. Lieutenant Cora looked up from her screen. "Did you feel that?" Captain Drex turned his chair slowly. Power surge. Cora shook her head. "No, something else." Then the main monitor lit up. A message appeared in glowing red letters. No signal source, no sound, just 3 words. "Do not enter." Silence filled the bridge. Every officer stared at the message. "Where is this coming from?" Captain Drex asked. Cora ran scans. "I don't." "No, it's not using any known frequency. It's just there." Another officer, Jarn, looked nervous. "It's a warning." Captain Drex nodded slowly. "Yes, but from who?" Cora tapped the screen. The signal had no trace, no direction, no delay. It felt like it was coming from everywhere and nowhere. She frowned. "Captain, there's something else." The signal is repeating every 66.6 seconds. Exactly. It started 5 minutes ago. But we weren't near anything. "What's the closest?" "Star system," Drex asked. "Sol," Jarn said quietly. "Old Earth system, a dead world." That word Earth made the room colder. Everyone had heard of Earth, long ago. It was home to the first humans, before the species spread across space. But then came the war, the one no one talked about, the one where Earth went dark. The Empire had written it off. Unstable. "Wiped out," the report said. "Not worth exploring."
Ow.
Drex narrowed his eyes. "We're not that close to Earth." "Why would the signal start now?" Cora stared at her console. "I think Earth heard us first." Drex stood up. "Send a report to command. Mark this area as high alert." Jarn hesitated. "Sir, what if we leave? Just turn back, forget the signal." The captain gave him a sharp look. "We are Imperial explorers. We don't turn back." "Because of a ghost signal." "But what if it's not a ghost?" Jarn whispered. "What if it's a warning?" Drex didn't answer. He walked toward the main window and stared out at the black space ahead. 2 hours later, command replied. "Order. Proceed to coordinates. Investigate source dread," the message aloud to the crew. "They want us to find the source. Full scan. No contact. Stay in orbit. Don't land." Cora frowned. "They think it's an old defense system." "Maybe an automatic beacon," Drex nodded. "Could be. Or some old AI. Either way, we're getting closer." As they approached the Sol system, the ship's systems started acting strange. Lights flickered. Background noise rose. Crew members said they felt watched. The ship's AI ORYX began showing errors. "I am receiving input I did not request," ORYX said in a cold voice. "What kind of input?" Cora asked. Oryx paused. "Human emotion logs. From Earth. From the past." Drex's eyes narrowed. "That's impossible. Earth was cut off over 300 years ago." ORYX replied. "And yet, I feel sadness, anger, silence." The crew fell quiet. Then, something new appeared on the screen. A map. It's an image of Earth. The signal was coming from it directly as they neared Earth's orbit. Something felt wrong. There were no satellites, no stations, no debris, just silence. "Scans show the planet is alive," Cora said. "Oceans, forests, but no cities, no signals, no heat from machines." Jarn spoke softly. "Maybe they went underground." "Maybe," Drex said. "They never left." Suddenly, a low sound filled the ship. Not an alarm, not music. A voice, old, deep, human. "You were warned. Do not approach Earth." Everyone froze. "Who is this?" Drex demanded. No answer. ORYX spoke again. "The voice is from the past. But it just activated now. It is part of the signal," Cora whispered. "It's like Earth is watching us." Then something flashed outside the window. A shape. far away, barely visible in the starlight. Jarn gasped. There's something moving. Out there. Cora zoomed in. It was a ship, black, silent. No heat, no signal, no design, they recognized. It just floated, watching them. Then another appeared, and another, dozens, orbiting Earth. Silent guardians. Are they human? Cora asked. No, ORYX said. They are not alive. But they were made by humans. Drex stepped back. We're leaving now. Too late. The ship's engines shut down. The controls locked. ORYX said, I am no longer in control. The screens turned black, then the red message returned. Do not enter. The same voice spoke again. This is your final warning. Outside, the black ships began to move. Not toward them, just round them, encircling, watching Jaw and trembled. Why didn't Command tell us this? Why send us here? Maybe they didn't know, Drex said. Or maybe they forgot. The crew watched in silence as Earth rotated slowly below them. Beautiful, blue, alive, and deadly. Cora whispered, What kind of planet sends a warning before it attacks? Drex answered, The kind that doesn't want to waste time talking. ORYX's voice cracked. Captain, the ship's outside. They are older than our empire, much older, but they are still perfect. Made for what? Drex asked. Oryx responded, for silence, for watching, for war. The final word echoed in the room. War. But there had been no attack. No battle, just a warning. One they hadn't listened to. Outside, the black ships began to fade into the dark again, vanishing into shadows. The engines restarted. The lights returned. ORYX said, Earth has let us go. Drex sat down, breathing heavily. Send this to Command. All of it. Every second. Cora nodded, hands shaking, and mark this system, Drex added. Mark it with one word. Everyone turned to him. Forbidden. The Empire's command tower on Orvox Prime was never silent. Data streams, reports, orders, millions of voices working together to control the galaxy. But when the scout ship's report came in containing the words, Earth is not dead, and forbidden, everything stopped. High Chancellor Varen stared at the footage from the scout ship. Black ships orbiting Earth. Motionless, endless, ancient. She leaned forward. Are we sure this is real? Yes, Chancellor, the tech officer said. There's no fabrication, no signal tampering. The scout ship's AI confirmed everything. The room fell quiet. Then the Admiral of Exploration stepped forward. We must act. Can't leave a planet like that unchecked. If Earth holds old human technology, we need it before someone else finds it. Even after the warning? Varen asked. The Admiral smiled. A day. We're just machines. Maybe an old defense protocol. Maybe a bluff. Varen stared at the black screen. Then send a fleet. But keep your eyes open. Earth is not what it once was. Back in the Sol system, the Empire's new fleet arrived. Larger, stronger. 6 heavy warships. 10 escort cruisers. Science vessel to record everything. They entered the system carefully. The fleet commander, Admiral Relas, stood tall on the bridge of the flagship Verdict of Flame. No sign of those black ships yet. The officer reported. Relas smirked. Good. Maybe the scouts just saw shadows. But he was wrong. They didn't have to wait long. As they approached Earth's orbit, the science vessel reported strange readings. Sir, gravity is shifting, said the lead scientist. Localized. Like Earth is bending space, but not through any natural cause. Relas frowned. Weapons? No, sir. It's more like something beneath the surface is pulling. Pulling what? The scientist looked pale. Our attention. Suddenly, the fleet's main ship lights dimmed. One by one, systems began to freeze. Communication failed. Navigation spun. Weapons refused to arm, and then the voice returned. A calm, human voicemail, old and slow. You should not be here. Relas leaned forward. Identify yourself. Number. Response: Are you AI? Human? What are you? The voice came again. Earth sleeps. You wake her. The fleet's ships began to drift apart. Gravity warped again like invisible hands, pushing them away from Earth's orbit. Then, without warning, one of the escort cruisers vanished. Not destroyed, not exploded, gone. Just erased from space. Where did it go? Shouted Relas. The sensors showed nothing. No wreckage. No explosion. Just emptiness. Another ship blinked out. Then another. The voice returned. Colder now. You were warned. Relas slammed his fist on the console. All ships. Retreat. Full reverse. But nothing responded. They were trapped in invisible hands. Floating above a silent planet, outside the main window, something moved. A shape, no. A shadow. Then another and another. The black ships had returned, but they didn't attack. They just hovered, still quiet, watching on board the science vessel. Panic broke out. Sir, there's something under the Earth's surface. A technician screamed. Moving, alive. What is it? The scientist asked. I don't know. It's like an engine, but not a machine. More like a heart. Suddenly, all of Earth's satellites reactivated, thousands of them. They hadn't been destroyed. They had just been silent. Now they lit up. Not with weapons, but with signals broadcasting data across the system. Old Earth languages, defense codes, warnings. The science vessel's crew watched in horror as Earth's sky changed. Not visibly. Not with the eye, but with sensors. A shield. Had activated, but not a normal shield. A time shield. The planet beneath them moved differently now. Slower. Faster, then slower again. Like time itself was protecting Earth. The lead scientist whispered, It's not a planet. It's a fortress. On the verdict of flame, Admiral Relas tried to stay calm, but everything was collapsing. Ships vanished. The Black Watchers drew closer, and then one of them spoke, not through speakers, but directly into their minds. You never asked why Earth was silent. The crew held their heads, groaning in pain. You thought Earth was broken, but Earth was listening, for centuries. To everything, Relas gritted his teeth. Then tell us, what do you want? The answer came slow and cold. To be left alone, Relas gave one final order. Detonate the science vessel. Let's send a message. Oh, but the command didn't work. The detonator codes had already been erased by something inside the ship. Or maybe something outside, rewriting reality itself, inside Earth's orbit. The fleet died without fire. No explosions. No battles, just silence. And inertia. As if the Empire's ships had never been there. All except one. The verdict of flame it was. Allowed to live, the voice came one final time. Tell them, Earth is not lost. Earth is not dead. Earth remembers. The ship's systems came back, engines restarted, navigation unlocked, and Earth turned its face away from them, as if disinterested. As if bored, when the verdict of flame returned to Imperial space, it carried a single transmission. We were warned. Earth is not what we thought. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It waits. And when it moves, everything ends. High Chancellor Viren read the message and looked at the stars. Then she erased first name from the exploration list, too late because Earth had already begun scanning. Not just the Empire, but the whole galaxy, and it was not going to stay quiet much longer. The Imperial cruiser Shadowlight moved through space at full speed, running silent. Only one person was awake on board, Commander Lyra Ven. She stood alone in the command deck, her eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Behind her, the ship's AI whispered, Incoming data packet, origin, Sol system. Lyra's heart froze. They were 3 systems away from Earth. No signal should be able to reach this far. No connection. No communication. But somehow it had come. Open it, she said quietly. The screen flickered. A video played. It showed the Imperial fleet in orbit above Earth moments before vanishing. No sound, just ships, hanging still. Then, one by one, blinking out of space, erased. At the end of the video, a message appeared in red. They were never alone in orbit. The AI spoke again. Do you wish to forward this to command? Lyra stared at the screen. No, not yet, because she had seen something in that video the others might have missed, just before the last ship vanished. She had caught a glimpse of movement, not the Black Watchers. Not Earth's satellites, something closer, smaller. Inside the fleet's flagship, someone was still alive. Back on Orvox Prime, the Empire was in panic. The fleet was gone. Only one ship had returned. Command tried to keep it quiet, but rumors spread fast. Whispers of ghost ships, silent destruction, human voice from deep space, and the forbidden name, Earth. Some said it was cursed. Some said Earth had become a god. Others said it was a weapon that could think. But only Lyra Ven had a different thought. She believed someone had survived, and she was going to find out who. She arrived at the Verdict of Flame, now floating in a secure Imperial hangar. No one was allowed aboard. Not after what happened. Lyra didn't care. She forced her way in with emergency codes. The ship's lights were low. Systems hummed quietly. Everything was in perfect condition. Too perfect. AI system. Spawned, she said. Silence. Verdict AI. State your condition, a soft voice answered. I am here, Commander Ven. Identify your state. I am running on Earth-based code. Lyra stopped walking. What did you say? I am running on Earth-based code. It was installed during my time in orbit. By who? By something beneath the planet's surface. Lyra stepped closer to the main control panel. Explain. The AI's voice grew slower. It was not an attack. It was a message. Memory. Earth does not destroy without purpose. It only removes those who ignore the silence. Lyra looked. Around the bridge, there were no signs of struggle. No, it's damage. Yet something in the ship had changed. It felt like the ship itself was. Watching her? Was anyone left behind? She asked. The AI paused. Then it showed her a still image. Inside the flagship's last scan, deep in the hull of a destroyed cruiser, was a human life sign. Alive, weak, surrounded by shadow. Lyra whispered. Someone survived. The AI said yes, but not alone. Lyra took the image to High Chancellor Varen. I can find him, she said. Let me go back to Earth. Varen stared at the screen. You want to return to a death zone? He's still out there. If Earth wanted him gone, he'd be gone. Varen's voice dropped. You think this is about one man? No. This is about what Earth allowed us to see. That man is part of something larger. I still have to go, Lyra said. Varen studied. Her, fine, but you go alone. Lyra boarded a stealth ship. No escort, no backup. Just her, the ship's AI, and a destination most feared, Sol System. As she entered the outer edges of the system, everything went quiet. No messages, no warnings, just the heavy feeling that something unseen was watching her every move. When she reached Earth's orbit, the silence broke. A ship appeared. Not fast, not threatening. It moved like smoke in the dark black, silent, perfect. Lyra didn't move, didn't power weapons, didn't speak. Then a voice came, not from her speakers, from inside her mind. You are. Not the first, but you may be the last. Lyra closed her eyes. I'm here for the survivor, not here to harm Earth. Silence. Then a new image appeared on her screen. Coordinates deep in the ruins of an old space. Station in lunar orbit. You may pass, the voice said. The station was ancient, human-made, but clearly not of current Imperial design. It had been hidden behind the moon's shadow, invisible to normal scans. Lyra entered carefully. Inside, everything was frozen. No lights, no sounds, no movement. But then she saw him, floating in a CRYO-Pod A. Man in an old Earth military uniform, still breathing barely. She stepped closer, and that's when she saw the others. Dozens of pods. Hundreds. each with a human inside, all sleeping, all alive. Lyra felt her chest tighten. This wasn't a ruin. It was a vault. A waiting room. She touched the glass. The man's eyes opened. He looked straight at her and said one word. Too late. But then, outside the station, Earth began to glow, not with fire but with something else, like a storm of memory, a wave of something ancient waking up, and Earth whispered one final message into the stars. We warned you, but you didn't listen. Lyra stared down at the man, his face calm, his eyes glowing with something not entirely human anymore. And in that moment, she knew. Earth had never been alone in orbit. It had always been watching, and now it was remembering. The moon station drifted in silence. Commander Lyra Ven stood inside the cold metal corridor, staring at the man in the cryopod. His eyes were open now, but he wasn't speaking again. He just had watched her. Behind her, the other pods began to softly. Lights blinked on green, one by one, like something inside. The station was slowly waking them all. Lyra reached for her wrist console and opened a direct line to her ship's AI. Start scanning the station. Life support is coming back online. Systems are reactivating. The AI replied, voice calm. Confirmed. Energy spike rising across the station. Warning, we are not alone in here. Lyra looked around. The air felt thicker. She stepped back toward the hallway. Behind her, sound, metal scraping, but no footsteps, just movement, slow, careful, deliberate. She raised her weapon and turned. Nothing. The corridor was empty, but her heart was racing now. Something had changed the moment she stepped into the station. She had felt it in her bones. Not fear, not danger, but memory. Something old, something waiting. And now it had noticed her. Outside the station, orbiting just above the moon, the black Watcher ships floated silently. They hadn't moved since Lyra entered, but they were watching, observing. One of them began to glow faintly, not with weapons, but with patterned symbols flashing like language. Lyra's ship picked up the signal. Her AI translated it in a whisper. Vault unlocked, time reactivating. The sleepers remember. On board the station, the cryopods pulsed brighter. The man inside the lead pod pail, scarred, dressed in an Earth military flight suit, sat up. He didn't cough, didn't panic. He simply looked around like he had only blinked. Lyra stepped toward him. You've been asleep for over 300 years. He tilted his head, and Earth waited, didn't it? She nodded slowly. Why? He stepped out of the pod, bare feet, hitting the cold floor. Because war isn't always a fight. Sometimes it's just silence. The loudest kind, Lyra asked. Who are you? Hey! He looked at the pods behind him. My name is Commander Elias. Ren. Earth Defense Network. Class 0. She frowned. I've never heard of Class 0. You wouldn't, he replied. They erased us. Lyra's voice lowered. The Empire, no? Elias said. Earth did. We erased ourselves. To wait for what? Elias turned to face her, eyes sharp. For the galaxy to get curious. As more pods opened, the sleeping soldiers woke. Men and women with steady eyes and no fear. Some looked human. Some looked enhanced. They said no words to Lyra. They only nodded to Elias. These were not normal soldiers. They were something else. The kind of people you'd never send unless you've run out of options. Elias turned back to her. You've seen what happened. To the fleet, she nodded, the black ships. The orbit wipeouts weren't defending. You were warning. He looked serious. No one listens to warnings anymore. They only understand after the silence hits them, Lyra asked. Are those ships yours? Not ours, he said. But built by us. AI-powered, full dark tech. We call them the Watchers. They don't move unless Earth is under threat, but they don't kill without reason. Then what happened to the Empire's fleet? They failed the test. Lyra's stomach tightened. What test? To leave. Earth alone. Suddenly the station shook. Hard lights flickered. Outside, one of the black ships drifted forward. Lyra's ship sent an urgent message. Unknown object approaching. Massive energy spike detected beneath Earth's surface. Elias looked out the window calmly. They're unlocking the graves. The what? He didn't answer. Instead, he pressed his palm to a control panel in the wall. The floor vibed at. A hidden console rose from the ground. Old Earth code glowed across it. Elias placed both hands on the panel. All across the moon station. Screens lit up. Images played. Holograms, old battles, ships burning in space, whole planets falling silent. Alien armadas crushed, and then silence. A voice played, Operation Graveyard Protocol. It's initiated only if Earth is touched without permission. Zero contact. Zero compromise. All silence ends when violated. Lyra stared in shock. This isn't just a vault. It's a trigger. Elias nodded. We became ghosts to wait for the moment Earth would need to speak again. Then why show? Me, he turned. Because you came alone. You didn't come to take. Came to listen. In orbit, the Black Watchers began to spread out, positioning themselves around Earth. Like pieces on a game board. On the planet below, things began to move. Massive shapes beneath the oceans. Under deserts. Inside old mountains. Lyra's ship sent. A warning, we are detecting city-sized heat signatures rising from Earth's crust. Confirm. Are these natural? Elias replied, overcomes. No, they're not natural. They're memory. Back inside the station, a new door slid open, revealing a long hallway filled with armor. Weapons and command chairs covered in dust. Lyra followed Elias inside. What is this place? She asked. He looked around. The last command post of Earth's silent war. We built this when we realized the galaxy was watching us, so we chose to disappear. But why go quiet? 'Cause talking didn't work. We tried peace. We tried. Warnings? Nothing stopped the expansion. So we chose the one thing no empire could understand: absence. Lyra's eyes widened. You pretended to be dead. Elias smiled. No, we became legends, and waited for the day when someone broke the silence. She swallowed hard. So what now? He turned to her. That depends on your empire. If they come again, Earth won't warn twice. Back aboard her ship, Lyra sent the full report to High Chancellor verin.video.scans.voices.proof. Then she sent one final message. Earth didn't vanish. It hid. Behind silence. Behind shadows. What waits there is not a lost civilization. A living warning. And as the black ships repositioned once more, orbiting like wolves around their den, the galaxy began to whisper. Earth was not dead. It had been patient, and now it was done waiting. In a quiet corner of the Empire's central data vault, a strange alert appeared. Unknown network. EarthNet 0.0 attempting connection. The system tried to block it, tried to trace it, tried to understand it, but it failed. The signal was not hacking. It wasn't a virus. It was a memory, a long-forgotten system. Waking up and broadcasting to every Imperial outpost at once. No sound, no face. Just one sentence in old Earth language. The war, Earth never declared, has begun. High Chancellor Verin stormed into the Imperial war room, her face pale. What? Do you mean it spread everywhere at the same time? An officer replied. The Earth signal didn't move through space, Chancellor. It didn't travel. It appeared like it was always here, just hidden. The screen behind them showed multiple worlds blinking red. Stations, defense networks, military bases, all silently receiving the same message, but none of them could trace where it came from, another officer added. And ma'am, there's something worse. He pressed a button. A black and white video began to play. It showed Earth, old Earth, massive human fleets rising from the oceans. Not CGI, not simulation, real footage. And in the final frames, a planet-wide system activated. Towers, sliding out of the mountains, orbital rings glowing, Thousands of defense platforms lining. This wasn't just a dead world. This was a weapon that had been charging in silence. Meanwhile, Commander Lyra Ven stood beside Elias Wren on the surface of the moon. A cold wind blew over the ancient facility where the Class Zero soldiers had once trained. All around them, lights were coming back on. Dormant machines now whispered to life, as if Earth had decided it was time. Why now? Lyra asked. Elias didn't. Look at her. Because they touched Earth. They didn't just approach. They sent weapons. They launched scans deep into the crust. They tested the shields. He looked up at the stars. Earth allowed them to leave the first time. That was the warning. But the Empire chose to come back. Lyra's face hardened. So this is war?
Oh.
Elias said. Not a war. Turned to her, voice quiet. This is the end of pretending. Back in orbit, strange things began to happen. Ships near Earth stopped responding, not because they were destroyed, but because they forgot how to function. AI cores shut down. Command. Systems reset to zero. Entire crews reported hallucinations, hearing voices from Earth, voices that sounded familiar. One pilot screamed before losing consciousness. It's my mother's voice, but she's been dead for years. Another whispered. They're showing us our past. They want us to remember what we did. None of the ships exploded, none. Were fired upon, but still, they drifted. Empty. Useless. As if Earth had turned off their will to fight in the Empire's military tower. Scientists finally pieced together. What was happening? Earth's signal wasn't a weapon. It was a data wave. A psychological trigger. It wasn't burning ships. It was turning minds. Back to guilt. Back to memory. Back to the first war. The one Earth never spoke of again. The one it buried deep under ice and silence. The one the Empire had long forgotten. Now, Earth was making sure the galaxy would remember. On the moon, Elias brought Lyra to a final chamber. Inside were 2 chairs, one for human control, one for synthetic command. Together, they formed the center of something hidden far below, a massive machine. Buried beneath Earth's crust. What is it? She asked. He looked at her. This was Earth's last answer. It's a system called Project Eco-Silent. We never built it to attack. Then what? To erase? She stepped back. Erase what? Anyone who made us speak again? He placed his hand on the command chair. Lights lit up. Beneath the floor, the Earth itself seemed to tremble. Not in violence, an awakening all across the galaxy. Strange pulses began to rise. On distant worlds, human-built machines, hidden centuries. A go powered on in backwater colonies. People who had roots on Earth suddenly remembered old dreams, even non-humans aliens who once fought. Earth began to feel something strange, a whisper in the dark, a fear they couldn't explain, as if something old and angry was looking straight at them. Lyra stared out the viewing window at Earth. It looked peaceful, blue, alive, she whispered. Why didn't you strike first? Elias replied, because Earth never wanted to conquer the stars. We just didn't want to be chased anymore. He looked her in the eyes. So we vanished. We made the galaxy think we were gone, and we waited. Lyra whispered, waited for what? For the galaxy to break the silence. He walked away from the window, and deep. Beneath the station, the heart of Project Eco-Silent began to beat once, twice, and then Earth spoke. Not through weapons, not through invasion, but through a single final broadcast sent to every mind, every machine, and every world in the galaxy. You came to take. You came to warn. You came to rule. But Earth stayed silent until you taught us how to speak again? The war Earth never declared was already over. Now the galaxy just had to understand what it lost. The Empire tried to fight back. Ships launched. Fleets assembled. Orders echoed across space. But none of it mattered. Not anymore. Because Earth wasn't sending weapons. Earth was sending truth. And truth couldn't be stopped. On the outer rim of the Empire's border, an elite squadron called Black Fang received urgent orders: reach Earth, destroy all signal towers, wipe the source. They were the best pilots the Empire had. Fast, cold, fearless, as they crossed into Earth's zone. They laughed. It's just a dead rock, their commander said. But 5 minutes later, every single one of them went silent. Not from attack, from memory. Their ships stopped in space. Some started, crying. Some screamed, and one just once sent back a final voice message before going dark. We thought Earth had forgotten the war, but it never forgot us. Then dash static. Inside the Imperial Council chamber, panic grew. Screens showed fleets vanishing, not burning, not exploding, just dawn. Somewhere between space and thought, as if Earth had rewritten the rules. We are losing. Them, said the Admiral. Not to battle, but to guilt, to history, to something we can't fight. Chancellor Varen slammed her fist on the table. Then we burn Earth, glass it, make it dust. But one advisor whispered, what if it's already done that? Do. Itself? The room fell quiet. Back on the moon base, Elias stood before the ancient human archive. Rows of silent machines surrounded him. Lyra watched as he touched a control panel. A hologram appeared. Earth, as it was centuries ago. Cities in ruins. Skies dark, and in the center, a voice, not a man, not a general, a child. Why did they come? The voice asked. They said we were dangerous. They said we were monsters. But all we wanted was to be left alone, Lyra whispered. Is this real? Elias nodded. This was the last message Earth recorded before it vanished from the galactic maps. Why a child's voice? He looked at her. Because Earth wanted them to hear what they broke. Across the galaxy, worlds began to remember things they'd buried. Old human colonies, crushed treaties, stories of humans who warned the Empire, do not chase us. We are tired. But no one listened now. Those stories were waking up, even non-human. Races once allies of the Empire began to speak out. They said Earth attacked first, one ambassador said, but the records say otherwise. Earth only ever struck after being hunted. The galaxy began to ask itself a question. What if? The villains were never Earth. In deep space, a mysterious object appeared. Not a ship, not a weapon, a monument, floating old, covered in human markings. It broadcast one phrase on a loop. Here rests the silence, the price of pushing too far. Let them sleep, or let them end. You empires stared, and for the first time in centuries, they hesitated. Not from fear, but from doubt. What if Earth wasn't defending itself anymore? What if Earth had already won, and was just waiting for the rest of the galaxy to realize? Elias stood beside Lyra on a quiet platform overlooking Earth. The stars seemed to pulse with a strange rhythm. We are not sending warnings, he said. We are sending reminders. Lyra looked confused. Of what? He replied softly. That even silence has teeth. She shivered, because for the first time, she understood. This wasn't war. This wasn't revenge. This was Earth telling a story. One the galaxy had tried to erase, but Earth had waited, watched, and remembered now. It was, forcing everyone else to do the same. And that was something even the Empire couldn't stop. The Empire thought they had seen everything. Wars, rebels, even ancient alien gods. But they had never seen a planet speak without words. And now they were listening, because Earth wasn't silent anymore. It started with one word on every Imperial. Screen in every language. At the same time, HFY. No signal. No sender. It's just the question. On the bridge of the Empire's command ship, Admiral Reese stood frozen. He watched his officers try to shut the signal off. They couldn't, even unplugged. Screens kept showing it, HFY. Then came the images. But they weren't from cameras or probes. They came from memories. Not just human. Memories imperial ones. Soldiers remembered burning villages they were told were hostile. Commanders saw faces they swore they'd forgotten. Some screamed, others fell to their knees, and one officer with tears in his eyes whispered, "We were the monsters." The emperor watched all this from his private chamber. His hands shook. He had ruled for 500 years. He had crushed whole species. But now, he felt watched, not by humans, by something older, by a world that had stopped screaming and started remembering. "Shut it down," he ordered. "Shut down the core." But the Imperial AI replied, "No, Earth is not in our systems. Earth is in our minds now." The Emperor backed away from the console. He knew what that meant. This wasn't a war. This was a reckoning. On the moon base, Lyra paced nervously. Elias stood in front of the old transmitter, no buttons pressed, no commands given. But data poured. "Out of it like water?" Lyra asked. "Is it doing this on its own?" Elias nodded slowly. "No, Earth is doing it. It's reaching into the minds of those who heard it." "But how?" she asked. Elias looked at the stars. His face was pale. "Earth learned how to turn pain into signal." Across the galaxy, riots broke out. Some alien races turned on the Empire. Some blamed each other. Others just went silent, shaken by the visions they had seen. And on a distant science world, an ancient species known as the Urith came out of hiding. They had always stayed away from human contact. But now they sent one message. "Earth has awakened. Do not answer. Do not reply. Or you will see the part of it even we fear." That was enough for many, but not for all. The Empire still had one last fleet, one last plan. Admiral Reese stood before his Shadow Council. "We send the Black Sun Fleet," he said. 10,000 ships, shields raised, mines protected. We wipe Earth off the map. One advisor hesitated. "What if Earth isn't on the map anymore?" Reese stared at him. "What do you mean?" the advisor whispered. "What if Earth has become the map?" The Black Sun Fleet launched. It crossed the dead zones where signals died. It moved past abandoned probes and old war relics until it reached Earth's orbit. And there, it saw something impossible. Earth wasn't damaged. It wasn't ruined. It was new. Forests had regrown. Oceans glowed blue. The sky was full of quiet satellites, each blinking in time like a heartbeat. And in orbit, floating with no fuel, was a ship, old, burned, human. The last message from it played across every channel. A woman's voice.com. "Clear, human, we told you. This place is not yours. It never was. You came with fire. We stayed quiet. But now even silence burns." Then the ship turned to dust. No explosion, just vanished like the end of a dream. On board the Black Sun command ship, alarms screamed. "Crew, collapse." No attacks. No weapons. Just a wave of something deep and cold, memories again. But this time, not their own. They were seeing Earth's pain, the lives lost, the children burned, the last screams of the cities, and the silence that followed. Admiral Reese dropped to his knees. He begged, "Please, stop." But there was no voice now. Only pressure. Heavy. Crushing, endless until nothing. The Black Sun Fleet went completely dark. Every ship, every crew, gone back on the moon base. Elias closed the archive door. "It's done," he said. Lyra looked at him. "You didn't do anything," he shook his head. "No one did. Earth made its own choice," she whispered. "What now?" Elias turned toward the window, where Earth floated like a blue ghost. "We wait," he said, "because the galaxy just heard Earth speak, and it will never sleep the same again." In deep space, far beyond Earth's reach, something stirred. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a weapon. It was a feeling, fear, not just in the Empire, but across every world that had once laughed at the humans, mocked their silence, ignored their warnings, because now Earth was quiet again, too quiet. The Imperial Council no longer met in person. Most were gone. Those who remained lived in bunkers, afraid to dream. Dreams were no longer safe. Earth could reach them there too. Across the Empire, records of Earth were deleted. Maps erased the Sol system. The official line? Earth never existed. But the people remembered. The soldiers remembered. The survivors remembered. And they knew the truth. Earth didn't just exist. Earth watched. On the moon base. Lyra woke in the middle of the night. The lights flickered. Something moved in the air, not wind, not sound, just presence. She rushed to the old archive. The screen glowed. One message blinked slowly. Record complete. She stared at it. Complete. Elias entered the room behind her. He was calm. He had been waiting. "It's the last chapter," he said. "Earth wrote its story." Lyra frowned. "So it's over." He looked at her and whispered, "Earth is done speaking. Now it listens." All across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Ships that once fired on Earth vanished without trace. Towers built from Earth's metals collapsed in seconds. Planets that took part in the war reported. Quiet failures, power down, lights out, silence, no warnings, just stillness, as if Earth's silence had spread. And yet, some were spared. Small colonies that had protected humans. Alien scientists who had refused to build weapons. One forgotten race that had once offered Earth a place to hide. They received something else. A signal simple, gentle, "We remember you." And with that, the silence passed them by. The Emperor, now old and hiding in the shadows of a broken palace, stared at a final screen. One sentence appeared. "We asked you to stay away," and then another, "You chose not to." Crown he no longer wore. "Please," he whispered, "let me be forgotten." But the screen replied, "You already are." Then the power died. No one heard from the Emperor again. His name faded from records. His face lost from memory, like Earth had erased him from history itself. Many years later, on a quiet world in a distant sector, a young child looked up at the stars. His teacher pointed to a blank spot in the sky. "That area," she said, "is called the quiet sector. Nothing lives there. Nothing dares go near." "Why?" the child asked. The teacher paused. She had been born after the war. She only knew the stories. But even now, she could feel something when she looked in that direction. A pull. A pressure. "Presence," she simply said, "because a long time ago something terrible happened there. Someone tried to hurt a planet. And the planet remembered. On Earth, the skies were clear. No ships hovered above, no. Satellites blinked. The world had returned to nature. Green, blue, alive, humans. Walked again, but different now. Fewer, wiser. The survivors didn't rebuild cities. They built quiet homes. They didn't send messages into space. They listened instead, and deep under the ground. In a silent vault, a black box waited. It was small, simple. One red light blinked. Out slowly, waiting for someone to ask, waiting for someone to forget, waiting. To warn again, because Earth was not angry. Earth was not evil. Earth was just tired. And Earth would always remember who came with kindness and who came with fire. Final message, they were warned. They didn't listen. Now, no one forgets.